the great thing about 50 years is now you can look back and you can see that their vision back there in 1974, 1975 was fulfilled.
Because of Vietnam, VMI had really cratered in application. My father was the president of the Board of Visitors, and my Dyke's father, Elman Gray, was the president of the Alumni Association. So I was on the inside of the rumor mill and what was going on at VMI. And it was interesting, Elman Gray was one of the most important people. He was the longtime chairman of the Senate Finance Committee. And he began to talk to VMI saying, the state is going to be decreasing what it spends on VMI, and therefore we've got to do more for ourselves.
In the mid-70s, the Board of Visitors or the foundation sanctioned there to be a study on the future funding of the Institute. And they realized with the state funding declining that tuitions alone would not be sufficient.
The leaders of VMI at the time and the leaders of the VMI Foundation were in a dialogue about how to provide well, how to resource VMI well. And I have known the VMI Board of Trustees for a long time, and they would have leaned into that conversation and said, we want to be helpful. How do we do that? The thought that we need a society to recognize a particular kind of generosity was the light bulb that went on. And the Institute Society was born.
Looking at that list, they are the who's who of VMI alumni at that time. What I remember was how much fun my parents had going to the Institute Society meetings. And of course they would. VMI was a place that they loved. And here were other men and women who loved the Institute also.
VMI was right at the top of their list of important places to share their money, and they did it their whole lives, and Daddy wanted to share that and probably thought, if I can set an example, some other people in my class might join, and then they can experience what it's like to give back to the college.
And it was the three amigos of Elman Gray, my dad, and Bob Patterson. And evidently the worst telephone call you could get as a VMI grad was a call from one of them saying, we want to come see you. Well, that was going to be the most expensive phone call you'd ever answered.
It was really an amazing thing that they did in that first 15 years really of the Institute Society. VMI just outpaced other schools, certainly in the state of Virginia. At one point in the 80s, we had a larger endowment than Virginia Tech did.
That's the spirit of VMI. That's the spirit of philanthropy that plays out in the membership in the Institute Society for the benefit of VMI.
I have been in the position myself of raising money for not-for-profits. And every dollar that somebody gives is an important dollar. But if they tell you exactly how you need to spend it, it limits your ability to respond to where you need it the most. So unrestricted giving is incredibly important for a college.
The Institute Society and the foundation, behind the scenes in many cases, has done things to create the VMI we have today.
The financial support of the Institute Society dollars have allowed many new programs to start and flourish at the Institute. There were no travel abroad programs when I was, if you got to go to Roanoke for the day, it was a travel abroad.
And every cadet for that window of time has benefited from the generosity of this cohort of leading benefactors. It's really extraordinary.
So I went to a different college before VMI, and I did not do very well academically at all. And then I sort of had this long journey after that took about a year. I worked in a warehouse just scanning boxes. I remember a conversation that I had with an older person at my job. They were telling me about my potential and that they didn't want to see it wasted at a job like that. And that really got me thinking when I was driving home, like, what kind of potential do I have? Like, I have no clue what I want to do with my life. And so I reached out to my father and my grandfather, who are both alumni. I realized that I really need self-control in order to excel. And this place really gave me the parameters necessary to succeed.
I think that if I were to go to normal college, I'd fail out just knowing who I am, and that structure really helped me become the person I am today. Coming home from winter furlough my rat year, I realized I was on a different path when my friends had no idea what I was doing here, and they would talk about, oh, I'm going drinking or I'm going to party in college, and I'm like, oh, I just did push-ups in front of my room. It was a sense of clarity that I was like, you know what, Jill, this is what you're supposed to be doing.
I went to cadet summer training done by the United States Army Cadet Command. I was able to talk to some other cadets from other senior military colleges, and they all said the same thing, that I probably have it worse here at VMI, and then after swapping some stories, this is definitely the toughest senior military college. When I found that out, to be quite honest, it filled me with a great sense of pride, knowing that myself and my brother Rats, we chose the more uncommon path. I always liked doing tough things. I'm glad we did the toughest thing.
I really transitioned from being sort of a straight C and D student to being an A student, just based on the quality of the professors at this school, I think. I've studied abroad this past semester in England. I've done Project Go twice in Taiwan and in Morocco. So just the opportunities that have been shown to me at this place, there's just so many things that I did not know existed. The scholarships are like the entire reason that I'm here. I mean, I would not be here without scholarships. I would not be able to afford this place at all. I have some money saved up from jobs. I have some assistance from my dad, but the donors, the people who make these scholarships they make dreams come true. They're really the reason that we're able to push ourselves to this next level. I would not be where I am today. So many of us would not be where we are today without their generosity and their support for us. It means the world.
Financially, things were tough at home, and we didn't have a lot of money growing up, and I knew that my brother had to go to school, and yeah, if I didn't have this scholarship, I wouldn't be here today. This is something that I would never take for granted, and take pride in knowing that I'm here for a reason, and I have people supporting me through this, through my cadetship.
I had an opportunity this past August to speak to some cadets here in Atlanta that were preparing to go to Lexington. But I looked at these soon-to-be rats in the rat line, and I said, it was you that they had in mind. The Institute Society planted seeds, planted trees that will bear fruit for generations.
I'm the first member of my family to go to college. And it's because of the generosity of one of the charter members of the Institute Society, Peter Meredith, and his wife, Susan. Peter is on this same video, his son. The Meredith Family Scholarship afforded me the opportunity to go to VMI, to go to college. All three of my children have now gone to college. Without that first pebble in the pond, that ripple has a much harder time happening. And so the impact is simply extraordinary. When you think about where we go from 50 years, what the next 50 years might hold, gosh, I hope it holds tens of thousands of more stories like that.
I think my parents would be very proud of the growth of the Institute Society over the last 50 years. And I think they actually kind of be blown away by it. The number of people, the amount of the dollars, the changes on post, the quality of the cadets. And I think just in some ways they wouldn't believe what's going on because it's so good.
We are the lifeblood. It's not tuition. I mean, tuition is great. Tuition is necessary. But tuition is not going to pay for the VMI that we want. It's not the state. The state is, as we all know, the state would love us to be more like George Mason or Old Dominion or something, with tens of thousands of students, and they are nice men and women. But they don't produce for the commonwealth of the nation what VMI does. So that's, we got to keep it up. The number of VMI graduates and families and others who support VMI has got to get bigger. We got to change, because the world's going to change.
Next year, being the 50th anniversary, it's something worth celebrating. It really is. It's an achievement worthy of great celebration. I hope a lot of people will be able to make it back.